In what universe do we have analysts give their opinion on teams when they don't understand the roles of the players they're giving opinions on, or they incorrectly, I should say identify the roles those players play? For instance, if there was an analyst in 2014 and they were talking about NIP, let's say, and they said, oh, well, NIP, they were a team that has get right entry fragging, and Freiburg, their lurker. Freiburg's a good lurker. Freiburg could come in and he could lurk for Fnatic. They could bring in Freiburg to lurk for Fnatic, and Fnatic could have Flusha be more of an entry fragger on NIP. Where would that ever fucking fly? Because everybody who's watching, who understands the game to a small amount and understands that this is Counter-Strike Global Offensive and not 1.6, understands there's roles, there's duties that you give people, responsibilities that you give them based on their tendencies, on how they play, on where they play, what parts of the map they play, if they're going with teams, if they're focused more on map control versus focused on taking on those preliminary interactions, those first interactions on the map, right? But then you have all of these super established fucking analysts out there who are basically, they just need to make content, because every day that they make content is a day that they grow what they're doing. They establish their base, they reach more people in their market audience, they get the ball rolling more. So any new thing that pops up, they can just opine on it. They can just talk about it despite being demonstrably completely fucking ignorant when it comes to that subject. So, for instance, if I was the number one analyst in the world, and I went and I said, Envious has happy entry fragging and Kiyoshima lurking, Kiyoshima had to go into the lurking role once Shocks left or something, like some utterly difficult bullshit like that just only demonstrates that you're either not paying attention or you're completely fucking clueless. What would I be? But you could always do that, because these guys that I'm talking about, whatever the fuck they come out with, people are just gonna they're just gonna eat it up. Whatever comes out of their fucking assholes, they're just gonna eat it up no matter what. Fucking Thorn could go shit in a bucket, go FedEx that fucking bucket to every single fucking Redditor of Global Offensive in the world, and that Redditor will be like, it's from Thorin. A Christmas miracle. They'd fucking put it on their dinner table and just have dinner with their guests about it. A bucket of shit, that is. It fucking blows my mind that, okay, since I already said the name, I might as fucking well, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm pretty much a pariah when it comes to the mainstream Counter-Strike, like, analyst scene or whatever. Thorin saying that Cutler's a lurker. You could ask Hazed. I've asked him. I have it recorded. He didn't lurk. And the funny thing is, people are like, dude, why you gotta get all up in his shit, dog? Like, what does it matter if he didn't know this? You better fucking believe, man. If somebody said Get Right was an entry fragger on NIP, people would blow their fucking shit and be like, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Why is he casting? Imagine if someone like Dust Moret said something like that. Imagine if somebody like Sadicist, or some other caster who isn't revered and completely beyond criticism like Anders or Semler said something fucking inane and ignorant like that. Said, oh yeah, Get Right is the entry fragger. I mean, Get Right's been a good entry fragger all year long. I mean, he should just keep entry fragging for NIP. Like, people would fucking crucify that motherfucker. Okay? So you have Thorin saying the same thing, giving his opinion about CLG, or giving an opinion about like an NA Dream Team, and saying that Cutler would make an awesome lurker when he didn't lurk for CLG. The crazy thing about Cutler, the thing that made Cutler so amazing for anybody watching, is Cutler more often than not would entry frag, and he would fall back. Okay? He would fall back after getting an entry, and he would chill. Okay? And Tarek would like push up, get one frag, and then he'd keep pushing, and then he'd die. And Cutler somehow would entry frag and clutch out rounds. Despite the fact he's entry fragging, he'd like go back into A main and just like chill and secure the round after that. That's what was so impressive about Cutler. That's where Cutler's passivity comes from. His late round, why he's alive in late round situations comes from, is because he understood that was necessary. Then you have fucking idiots like Moses saying that automatic lurked, or automatic entry fragged in the last 3 seasons. He didn't entry frag in the last season with Tempo Storm. He didn't entry frag in the season before that with fucking Nylum. He didn't entry frag when it was like with Semphis and Hiko. because Hiko moved into a support role. People always have this fucking idea in their head, like, oh, big boy Hiko, he ain't gonna stop his lurk. You can't get Hiko off them lurk spots. Hiko came to Liquid and started lurking. No, another huge common misconception. Hiko actually didn't want to keep lurking. He thought the lurking meta was outplayed. He thought that's why you saw declines in the performance of people like Get Right in the first place. He thought it was so obvious that Hiko's always going to be flanking. He talked about this all the fucking time. So he started putting himself more into a support role where he could set up his teammates, and then naturally as a support player, I mean, if you're setting up your entry fragger and your playmaker or your trade fragger, you're going to be behind them. You're going to be one of the last people alive anyway. So people are seeing, oh, Hiko's last alive, therefore Hiko must be lurking. No, no, that's not how that works either. Like, and I could make another thing about this, about a document on roles or something that I might put on somewhere. But the important aspect is automatic. If you watch these teams and you have a mind of Counter-Strike, you should know what role is which, who's doing what more often than not. It should be clear to you. You shouldn't need a fucking almanac for the shit, all right? And if you can't figure that out, okay, fine. But then just don't opine on it. I'm willing to throw my neck out there. I'm willing to say everything that I've said ever and record it and have it on permanent forums or whatever. And if anybody wants to challenge anything that I've ever said or the validity of it, they can go ahead and do so. And people have tried. Okay? But I watched thousands of fucking demos. I actually know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm not going to go out there and start talking about a team like the Mongols just because I want to create content talking about Asian teams because, hey, I haven't done that yet and that'll get my fucking video some views or something. No. Talking about out of your fucking ass in regards to TSM. All these fucking videos about TSM are completely fucking clueless. And I'll tell you why. Because, okay, if you want to look at it from the perspective of like, oh, well, the org, from an organizational perspective, the fact that the org could have gotten a better team, or with their money they could have done better, okay, that's different. But if you're just looking at it as an actual team, you can't necessarily hold it in relation to TSM with Dupree and Device and all them, okay? Because that's extremely misleading. Now people go and look at that team and they go, oh, this team is just complete dog shit. Like, who's doing what on this team? What's going on? Okay, so I followed Denial, which is where Sick and Vice come from. I've watched pretty much every single match they've ever played. I've watched CLG. I've watched Complexity with Semphis. And I've watched Complexity with Automatic as well. I would say Automatic is very talented. I would say Automatic is probably the guy who should have gone to Cloud9 if Cloud9 was to follow the idea that Sean Garrett gave them before they left of you guys need a lurker. And the idea that he's saying you guys need a lurker is because then you would have nothing playing his best spot. And another thing, fucking Thorin talking about, oh, nothing always wanted to lurk. When the fuck did that ever happen? Nothing has always wanted to be in the fray. The problem with Nothing is he's always wanted to do something different. Nothing has always wanted to entry frag. Nothing has always wanted to be the guy who's not entry fragging, who's trade fragging. Nothing has wanted to be the guy who's fast lurking somewhere. Nothing has wanted to be the guy who's in more of a playmaker role. Nothing has wanted to be a lurker sometimes. Anything that he thinks he can contribute to, he's wanted to do because he believes in himself and he believes in his skill. And if his teammate can't do something, he'll put himself in there to go do it. But to say Nothing always wanted to lurk or some shit, that's a complete bullshit. Nothing was an aggressive rifler throughout his entire career. When someone like Thorn, with a following that Thorn has, says shit like that, he can change people's perspectives massively. He actually is a culture propagator. He actually does change what people's views are on subjects. He actually does change what people think in the meta. He actually does change about what people think about certain players. Thorn could go say something about a player, okay? He could go say something like, Fifth Lauren was a great entry fragger for NIP. And more people would believe it than people would disbelieve it. Thorn could say the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, and the fucking people at the R Global Offensive Reddit would believe it. Like, the casual fan would actually believe it. Would say, oh, I didn't know he was an astrologist, but, you know, I guess he's into that kind of thing. Anyway, so that's the fucking issue, right? Nothing actually, if he was put in more of an aggressive rifling role, he would be in a natural role for him. Sean Garris knows this. Anybody who actually watches NACS knows this. That's what's so fucking mind-blowing to me, is how can someone like Moses, who actually casts games in NA, not comprehend the fact that Automatic has been a baiting motherfucker, as Automatic would put it, for the last few seasons. Automatic has not been entry fragging anything. And fucking... Moses is making it seem like Automatic is part of some entry fragging duo like Kiyoshima and Apex, or like fucking Elysian Nitro, and that couldn't be further from the fucking truth. It's a complete misconception that he's propagating, and it's complete and utter bullshit that he's propagating. I don't get how that flies, and nobody bats an eye. Then you have if you had Automatic actually come into Cloud9, okay, instead of Stewie TK, you would have Automatic lurking. You could have Shroud in sort of... Shroud would have to change as a player. Honestly, if Cloud9 is going to work Shroud, you'd have to change as a player. So you'd have maybe Shroud go into more of like a support lurk kind of role, where he's supporting sometimes and he's a peripheral map control player on other times, because you probably could put Shroud... Like, for instance, you could tell Shroud to watch the banana push all by himself and be wood logs, and he could do that just fine and not get pushed, not get bossed around. You could put Shroud like outside of B on cash, and he wouldn't get pushed around. He'd be fine wherever he goes, because of the skill that he has as a player, right? And because he probably works better alone and at his own pace than he does with anybody else. And then you would have like Nothing and Freakazoid going into places and fucking shit up. And you'd have Skadoodle kind of working either as a support op if Shroud is playing the peripheral, then Skadoodle will be supporting, and if Shroud is supporting, then Skadoodle could be doing something where Skadoodle's trying to make a play. So that would be, to me, the ideal pickup for Cloud9 and how Cloud9 would work. So in my estimation, when you're talking about great players that are out there that aren't given shots on big teams, I'm not thinking Stewie 2K. I'm thinking Automatic. So for TSM to pick up Automatic, that's a pretty solid pickup for them as a squad, okay? And Automatic, a lot rests on his shoulders, really, because he's the kind of player, it's like, you got to show me something. Kind of like Stewie. He's unproven so far. He hasn't done shit in this game yet. A lot of people haven't from North America. Moving on, Semphis, opping. I've seen Semphis op. I think he has a load of fucking talent. He can rifle. He's one of the best pistol players out of North America. He's an extremely intelligent player. The only knock I've ever had on Semphis is that, him knowing it or not, he doesn't realize it, but he's a lot more bossy. He can be a lot more bossy than he seems. If Semphis just followed directions, kind of gave information, and didn't try to really push his own agenda, I think he would actually be a better player than not. And even Semphis would be like, I'm not pushing an agenda, like I'm nominating things, and if you want to say no, that's fine. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that too much. I mean, the thing is with Semphis is that if he nominates something, people are going to respect it because he has more experience on rosters than anybody it's coming to now. Like, only now that the iBuy players have been banned, only a handful of players have more experience in Semphis and are more outspoken than Semphis. Like, Hiko's not that kind of guy. Hiko's not very outspoken. He's not going to really try to push things any certain way. But anyway, thankfully for TSM, Finesse is outspoken. I've looked at Finesse. He's not a bad player. I think he plays better in an aggressive rifling role than anything. He's at his most effective when he is actually taking on first contact, entry fragging, or supporting and trade fragging. I did not like what it looked like when Finesse lurked, actually. For some reason, it just didn't work out. He tried it on CLG. To me, it just didn't work out. That was the change they needed. They don't need more than one leader, I guess, anymore now that Cutler's calling and Pitt is coaching. Okay, whatever. That's for the best, I think. So you take somebody like Finesse, you put him in TSM, and I think he has experience. I mean, this guy has... That CLG team, after iBuyPower got banned and everything, they started going to majors. They started becoming the second best team. These guys were not expected to do that. They were not supposed to do that. They came out of nowhere, so to speak. These were main players. I mean, this was before there was Premier, so let's just say there were Division 2 players that came into Division 1 and beat a lot of teams, a lot of players. They even beat the old iBuyPower, actually, I think, or Torqued. So they were, the old iBuyPower. So they were able to do things that a lot of teams haven't been able to do, and they were able to do them very successfully and do them very well, and it would be cheap as fuck if you were to take Finesse and say Finesse doesn't get credit for that. if you were to take Finesse and said they did that despite Finesse. Because in reality, Finesse was a lot of the brainchild behind CLG. And the issue that I have, even though I have issues with what Finesse did, okay, and this is my issue, okay? I criticized Finesse on a lot of the things that CLG did, but with that criticism, he should also get credit for a lot of the things that CLG did. It's not like CLG just won games in that kind of way where it's just a single-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. If you're going to criticize CLG shortcomings, criticize Finesse for CLG shortcomings, you have to credit Finesse for CLG's approval. And that's kind of a shitty position to be in, but that's the position that he's been in for the last few seasons, of like, if CLG won games, Finesse wouldn't get the credit. Tarek would get, oh man, that Tarek guy, he's a fucking brain dead fuck who's a peanut brain, but he sure can out aim people. Wow, JDM, or wow, PTR, what a fucking beast opper. He's really shown me something incredible. Cutler's so fucking clutch. Cutler's so fucking amazing. Okay, all these things are true, but at the same time, if CLG did do something in its own world, in its own division of the NA region, which it did, it was able to qualify to these majors. It was the second best team in North America, or the best team in North America, that top 2 team that was going to majors and qualifying to shit. Then you have to give credit for that to Finesse. You have to give credit where credit's due to Finesse, okay? And even role players like Hazed. Now, beyond that, I would say, and role players like Cutler, obviously, who does get his credit, actually. Beyond that, I would say that TSM looks like it has a brainchild from these 3 different people, which is Finesse, Semphis, and then Valens. What do I think about Valens? I think Valens he hasn't proven anything. Nobody on this roster has proven really anything except for Semphis, who's actually gone to lands and gone to like semifinals and shit in majors and gotten far in against international competition. But Valens, I think it's going to be an interesting experiment to see if he is this tactical mastermind. If he is capable of taking players that are extremely talented and drawing shit up for them, and they're able to do it really well. And I've seen what Nylum was able to do, and a lot of what Nylum would do is kind of like smoke and mirrors kind of shit. So I would like to see that happen, maybe with this TSM roster. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't work. And the reason why it will or won't work is going to be on these next 2 players, which is Vice and Sick. Vice and Sick have been together on Denial. They are raw. If you want to say Stewie 2K, oh, they're giving Stewie 2K a shot, great, whatever. I would say Vice and Sick are right up there with Stewie 2K. You want to give Stewie 2K a shot? Okay, put Vice and Sick in there. The thing is, Stewie 2K was found by Ocean, okay? So these pro players that give their opinions on other players that are not yet pro or whatever, okay? They've known Stewie 2K for a while. Stewie 2K has been fucking them and out-aiming them and taking advantage of the chaos of a pug or of a 10-man and taking that to his advantage because of his skill for a long time, because Ocean brought him in like the second season he's been playing the game competitively or something. Now, if Ocean would have taken in Sick, if Ocean would have taken in Vice, if Ocean would have taken in Nifty, if Ocean would have taken in Twists, then these guys would be just as regarded the same way as Stewie. As like, oh, okay, wow, man, this guy's surprising me. Wow, this guy's able to out-aim me. Wow. He has the skill, he has the talent that it takes. So when I look at players like Sick and Vice not as much like Stewie, even Sick not as much like Stewie, but the thing is like the natural talent is there, the skill is there, okay? So skill-wise, like if we're talking about mechanics, we're talking about movement, we're talking about aim, right? I would say Sick is pretty high up there. Sick has been able to impress people the second he started really getting into FPL and started shitting on kids. And you could say the same thing for Vice. Vice is also pretty impressive skill-wise. These guys have always had high skill. Now, the thing for TSM is if they can get Finesse, Semphis, Valens to be less of pontificators or less of we should do this and blah, blah, and more of educators, teachers, more of people who will sit with Sick and Vice and kind of like mash into their heads like this is how you should play the game. This is how we're going to play if we're going to win. Then we could see success out of TSM. If they don't do that, then maybe Sick and Vice will be able to catch people off guard. Sick more so than Vice. Vice is a little bit more conservative. He uses his head a little bit more, I would say. Then we'd be able to see them fail in a certain way, because I don't think that Valens' calling style is going to work on a team like this, like a team like TSM. I'd like to see Valens' calling style actually on a team like Cloud9. Really. Like, really, I think if Valens wasn't loyal to Semphis and Automatic, which it seems like he is, he would be a great coaching candidate for Cloud9. He might not want to go to Cloud9, though. Cloud9 might not make a lot of sense to him in the sense of, like, the players on there or the managers. I can't really speak to that. But what I can say is it will be interesting to see how TSM, the team that is now Sick, Vice, Finesse, Semphis, and Automatic, will work together with these roles of Sick entry fragging, Vice trade fragging, Finesse being more of a support player, and Semphis opping and Automatic lurking. So I'd like to see how that team will do. Obviously, I'm not going to do some prognosis. That's not what I've been about doing. I just, from what I've seen, what I think will happen is TSM will probably be a middle of the tier, middle of the pack team until Vice and Sick can get up to speed with the pro game. If they can get up to speed with the pro game right away, and somehow, some way, these guys are able to teach them things, and they're learning a lot right now in this period of scrimming against other pro teams and whatnot, great. You know, if they're able to see, okay, this is a real opportunity for us. We're getting real big boy salaries. We're part of a huge organization. This is the dream come true. This is the dream come realized for us. And they're able to take their game to the next level. Great. Then we could see these things sooner rather than later. But for TSM, what I must stress is this is a long-term project. This is either A, a long-term project, or B, somebody's going to get bought out and go to one of the bigger orgs like Cloud9, or which I think Automatic should have gone in the first place, or like Liquid or something. Maybe. I don't know. So for me, those are my thoughts on TSM. If you like the thoughts, please like and comment whatever you think. If you've gotten this far, put the word focus right. Focus right is the it's the amp. I got a little amp for my microphone here, and it's by a company called Focusrite. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do anything. I don't really care. I put these videos out just to put my views out there so that I can express myself. And that's what's important to me, is being able to express myself.